All right, so welcome. We are halfway through October. It's October the 16th. So thank you for joining us today in our live class and for coming together this way as a community. Thank you for your interest in somatic meditation. We're going to do our grounding, breathing, and centering, and I'm going to give a talk, and then you'll have a chance to introduce yourself, where you're connecting from, ask any questions about the talk, or give your response to the talk, and then we'll go into our meditation. So let's begin with our mantra and our centering. So I'm going to mute you all. So just begin by feeling the parts of your body that are connected with the earth, your feet, where you're sitting or standing, but the parts of your body that are connected to the earth, and allow yourself to open to the energy of the earth and just notice what that feels like for you today. Maybe it feels open and vast, maybe dark, maybe deep. Maybe there's a depth and a stillness to it. Maybe a sense of comfort and grounding and stability and rootedness. Just allow those qualities to begin to open into your body and being. And so we're always connected to the earth, but often we lose sight of this connection. We become distracted. And so just taking this time very briefly here to reconnect, to bring our awareness to this connection again, can start to draw those qualities of the earth into our being. And from that, our posture arises. So from those qualities of stability and grounding, you can start to notice how there's a buoyancy that comes into your spine, and your spine lengthens from your tailbone all the way up through the crown of your head. There's a drawing back through the back of your head. Your ears come over your shoulders. And you feel how your back of your neck opens. There's space between your teeth. Your tongue floats in your mouth. And just notice how there's a spaciousness in your body. And allow yourself to soften into that sense of embodiment. Noticing where there's tension, but also noticing where there's openness. Allowing the tension to soften. And then becoming aware of your breath, coming into your lower belly, about 3 finger widths below your navel and 2 finger widths behind that. And so there's the stability of your posture, of your spine and your back, and the lengthening through the back of your head and up through the crown of your head. There's a softness around your belly as you feel your breath coming into your lower belly. And so each time we come together and each time you come into our membership community, we first connect with ourselves in this way. And we do this so that we can connect with each other. So just in the same way that you are connecting with the earth, know that each person here is connecting with that stability, that groundedness, that support. In the same way that you are connecting with the stability of your spine, the openness through the back of your neck, the openness and wisdom of your body, each person here is doing the same. In the same way that you are connecting with the breath in your lower belly, each person here has access to that energy center in their lower belly. And so we experience this grounding, this breathing, this centering for what it feels like on our own, but we also experience it as a community. This is something we experience together. So just open to that possibility, to knowing that, yes, you are doing this practice, you as an individual, but we are also practicing this collectively, and what that does to your experience, how that affects your experience. How does that shift or change your experience at all? And then hearing the words of our community, our mantra, just notice how they land for you, remembering that they land for you, but for each person in the community. Remembering I am intrinsically good without exception, and that I've been given this precious opportunity of my unique life. I find ways to engage in daily practice in my everyday life. So knowing that each and every one of us are here practicing together. When I open to the vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability of the earth, that vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability opens into my body and being. And remembering that my heart is open, tender, and responsive, I enter into my relationships as part of my daily practice in my everyday life. And part of coming into this grounding, centering, and breathing allows us to be open, so that we're open to experience as it unfolds, tender, so we know intuitively how to respond, responsive, so that we can respond without judgment and reservation. And each time I come to our community, I hear again and again how much you value our guideline of acceptance, acknowledgement, and respect and trust, and that we are a community that practice reverence and love and compassion for all by treating each other with loving kindness, by offering the dignity of each person to have the dignity of their own experience, so that each person can speak from their own experience, even if it seems painful, that we accept that each person is on their own path and has their own experience, and that there's no need to offer advice. And so those are our guidelines as we come together in circle each time. And so then I invite you to join us back together here in our community, face to face in our circle. And this circle is very unique in a live class. I mean, Facebook has live, YouTube has live, Instagram has live, Twitter has live. They all have these live platforms, and yet in those live platforms, the face to face, there it isn't face to face. The face to okay, it's only one way, right? You only see one person's face, and so in that way, it continues to bolster the value of the individual over the collective. And so when we come together here in our community, we have a unique experience of being together in a group live. And so as you listen to the teachings here today, just notice how this face-to-face interaction affects the experience right from the beginning. The fact that, you are here face to face, you can see, you have the real-time experience of seeing each other, seeing each other's facial expressions, knowing how you're responding to the talk. And, that's very different from responding slowly with text on a keyboard. It's a very different experience. It's as close as we can get to in-person interaction here. So just take note of that as you receive the teachings for today. And of course, you all have opportunity to speak in this circle as well. So that will be available to you after the teachings, where you can ask questions and give your response to the teachings as well when you introduce yourself. So we actually get to hear your voice and your inflection in the voice, which leads to a lot more clarity than simply text on a screen. So we're going to be talking about community again today. And, one of the things that I've encouraged our guardians of the community in fostering connection and community and discussion in our community is to look at the question of why I'm offering the teachings that I am. So I took that question forward today and asked the question, why are we focusing on community? Because really, and I'm seeing this even in my attempts to bring the theme of community forward, and also in the kind of resistance to it overall, that community really does go against the grain of our culture. Our culture reveres the self-made person, the self-contained person, somebody who is self-made, somebody who does it all themselves. Individualism is highly valued in our culture over the collective. In fact, personal gain is valued over looking after the collective. So in other words, ironically, our collective culture encourages us to be independent and self-reliant. This is the water we swim in as fish, so to speak. And when I was reading through your comments this past week on the DYC to reflect on my teachings for today, this was evident. This was particularly evident as many of you spoke quite honestly about your edges around asking for support from others, and also just a normal hesitancy to be part of community, and an inherent comfort zone in retreating into yourself when discomfort arises. And there's no judgment around this. This is all very normal. Because we are raised in a culture that favors the individual, favors individual freedom and individual action over the good of the collective community. And we see this time and time again. We live in a culture of economic disparity, for one. In the US, the Waltons of Walmart have as much wealth as the poorest 40% of Americans. In the UK, more than 1 million people receive aid from food banks, according to 2015 figures, while the richest families have the same wealth as 12 million people. So in an individualist society, there's a tyranny of self-improvement, and this is why the Inner Critic series resonates so deeply with so many. There's a tyranny of self-improvement, there's a tyranny of achievement, and materialism and self-gain. And this kind of focus on the self loses sight of the good of the collective. And it's a kind of narcissism and self-centeredness that fails to take into consideration the well-being of our fellow humans. This is evident also in platforms that claim to be social or community-oriented, that are actually simply collecting as much personal information about people as possible so that they can, again, advertise back to you. And on that same level, advertising and consumer culture, it beats to the continual drum of you're not good enough, so that you have to buy their products to continually improve yourself. A lot of our time on these social media platforms are focused on ourselves, presenting a polished version of ourselves. And again, there's absolutely no judgment here, because I totally recognize and relate to personal intentions set around joining the game so that I can get a message out that's for the greater good. I personally, over the last few months, have completely changed my Instagram feed that is absolutely more polished, that is absolutely more focused on me, and that presents a distorted personal reality. Because without doing that, it fails to reach an audience, and it's impossible to get a message of greater good out. But what happens is it distorts our personal reality, and it distorts our social reality. The experience of social media can leave us feeling more isolated when we're constantly bombarded with photos of friends having fun on vacations, at eating out, at events, and it seems like there's this constant sort of high life that's being lived that, maybe we feel excluded from, or exposure to highly idealized representations of lives and of our peers on social media. They elicit feelings of envy and a really distorted belief that others lead happier and more successful lives. And, that's just the way it rolls. And so in a culture that creates this kind of self-obsession and reveres individualism and constantly encourages us to project an idealized version of ourselves, we actually come to believe that we don't need community. And in fact, we don't trust community. We approach others with suspicion, right? Because we think, the suspicion comes from this, like, well, I'm missing out. They're having more fun. I can't keep up. And, they're leading more successful, happier, better lives. So we have preconceived notions that hurt us. And so there's a deep-seated suspicion that we can't relate to others. And so then we hunker down and we try to do it on our own. We try to do it better on our own. And, the likes and shares on Facebook prove it to us that this is the way to do it. It's that feedback loop that says, yep, that's good. That's the way to do it. That's the acknowledgement that this way is the right way. But the scientific research actually shows otherwise. It actually shows that this is not providing us with happiness or satisfaction or value in our lives. As mammals, we need connection through genuine community. So there are some very real things that happen in our bodies. And, we are a yoga community. We are focusing on our bodies. Even our meditation is somatic and embodied. And so I really want to focus on how community changes our embodied experience and in a positive way. So there are two main ways that I'm going to present today that social connection, that community connection has a positive impact in a very embodied way. And one is that social connection encourages your parasympathetic nervous system. And so I feel like, I'm a bit of a broken record with this parasympathetic nervous system, but, when you're anxious, when you're stressed, your sympathetic nervous system kicks into high gear. And that's when you get, the heart rate going up, your blood pressure going up, and you don't feel well. But that parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest mode, and it's very calming and restorative. And when we are in these face-to-face social connections, when we have this social connectedness, it fortifies what they call a tend and befriend parasympathetic response. And it actually engages our vagus nerve. And this improves the vagal tone, and it counteracts stress responses associated with that fight or flight mechanism. So when we tone the vagus nerve, it slows down our heart rate, it slows down our blood pressure, and it's especially helpful for those of us that experience anxiety, which I think is, it's the number one class request that I get, is anxiety. So our vagus nerve is the prime driving force of the parasympathetic nervous system. It regulates your rest and digest and your tend and befriend response. So this is a very powerful thing that happens just with something as simple as this, what we're doing right now, this face-to-face, seeing other human beings, connecting in this way, really super powerful. And then personal connectedness also stimulates a hormone called oxytocin. So this parasympathetic urge to tend and befriend, it releases oxytocin. And this oxytocin has typically been thought of as the cuddle molecule or the love hormone. Now, the adrenaline and cortisol, they fuel our fight or flight response. And I've talked a lot here about the damaging effects of adrenaline and cortisol. And at the other end of the spectrum is this hormone called oxytocin. And they are at the heart of our innate urge to form close-knit human bonds and our parasympathetic response to take care of one another. So very interestingly, oxytocin is sometimes called the hormone of forgetting oneself. And it plays a very important role in forging connection. It acts like a kind of psychological buffer. When oxytocin is released into your system, you will experience a sense of optimism, a sense of trust, a sense of mastery, and self-esteem. And it's been found even small expressions of support in between family members and friends will stimulate the release of oxytocin. So what this means is that love and trust and sincerity and heartfelt touch can actually prompt your body to heal on a physical level. So when the oxytocin levels in your body are stable and when they're elevated, your physical body benefits. The oxytocin in your body, it reduces the level of cortisol in your body. It lowers your blood pressure. And oxytocin and the receptor site for oxytocin have been found in the intestinal tract. And so there's all kinds of research that shows that if you have any intestinal issues like IBS, digestive issues, constipation, then this kind of connection, positive connections, make a huge difference to any of those digestive issues. And it improves oxytocin. There's fabulous research that shows how oxytocin improves gut motility and decreases intestinal inflammation. So it's really, really powerful. The effects on connection on our bodies are real. They're very real. And you all feel this in our community. When I went through and looked at the comments on last week's DYC when Paige asked you about what community means to you. You spoke of support and growth and receiving kinship, others to relate to, like-minded people, discussing what's important to you without judgment, feeling safety and resonance, gathering together, receiving wisdom and insight. And yet, it takes effort. It's not the default, right? The default, because it's so ingrained in our culture, is to revert back to our own individualism, to revert back to our own narcissistic tendencies. And I thought that Carrie had a really wonderful post last week when she spoke about doing the friendship class. And she talked about taking action in friendship. And I think that when it comes to community, because it's so outside of our cultural norms, I mean, so few people are talking about this community and connection and forging connections, even though there's tons and tons of data and scientific research that, speaks about how important it is, that being lonely and being isolated is as damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I mean, you might, if you think you're going to do it on your own, you might as well be a chain smoker. It's that bad. So it's this forging connections is very important to our overall well-being. And I really thought what Carrie said was quite poignant. And what she said was, to be a friend with someone requires effort and takes action. And she said calling, emailing, visiting, being present when in their presence. And she said, the warrior poses helped me embody the action of being present and concentrating, which I can take off the mat and apply in relationship with my friends and my spouse. And she talked about how she liked the mudra and how it allowed her to metaphorically draw her friends near. But what really stood out for me about her post was the importance of taking action. That it's not going to be our default, but it's going to be something that, no matter how much we know it's important, that is going to be something we have to put effort behind, because it goes against the grain of the culture we live in. So that was what I wanted to share with you this morning. And I will unmute you so you can ask any questions that you might have, or respond with your thoughts and introduce yourselves, where you're connecting from in the world, and then we'll go into our meditation.
Hi, I'm Michelle from the UK. And thanks, Melissa. That was a really interesting talk. And I really like the facts about oxytocin, which I wasn't aware of all those facts. And I think I can see how, loneliness appears so often in the classes that I share with the elderly. And the most successful class that I do on a Thursday afternoon, it's been running nearly 4 years, and people just love that class coming together, and they're all from different backgrounds, and yet there's so much love. I've talked about it before, but I think there is so much loneliness around, and all this social media stuff doesn't help, like you said. Yeah, and I appreciate our community so much, so thank you.
I'm Paige, and I'm connecting from Italy. And I'm thinking.
I'm Petra. I'm connecting from North Vancouver, Canada. It's been a few classes since I've been here, so hi everyone.
Hi.
And this is a good topic for me. Struggle with this for a few factors in my life that keep me a little bit isolated, or a lot isolated. So it's a good topic to meditate on today. Thank you.
I'm Bene from France. Your talk resonates a lot with me, especially after last week, the DYC, where I had a tough judgment for myself, feeling me quite selfish regarding the community. And the last part of your talk resonates a lot because it does take courage and effort and to be part of a community. And sometimes I just feel like I'm not as grateful as I have to be, because I receive a lot from the community, and it's easier for me to receive than giving, and to read without posting a comment, or to show support that is stronger. And I always have a story to, like, an excuse. And so, yes, I have some things to think about now. Thank you, Melissa.
So I think sometimes part of the story is that I'm not good enough for the community too. Which isn't true. And it takes, community, it's not easy. And I think that's a lot of times why it doesn't work, and why why individualism gets favored over community, because it's easier to just step out, right, than to step in and make the extra effort. And so, we can recognize that none of us we're all fallible. None of us are perfect. All of us are imperfectly perfect. And, that was the one thing that I thought that was really poignant about what Carrie said, was that I think one of the biggest parts of community is simply your presence. And this is part of the tyranny of the culture of individualism, is that it values doing over being, and simply being present in the community is a huge contribution to the community itself. So.
I know that that's really true for me. And like, I came, right at the very time that we were getting started tonight. And when my screen opened up and all of the little squares were full, and then I had to swipe so I could see the other little squares of people who don't show up in my little square, my heart is so happy. And like, if you haven't been here for a week or two, I will just tell you right now, I was so happy to see your faces. Every single person that hasn't been here for a week or two, I was just really, really happy that you were here. And it doesn't have to do with anything except, well, there's your smile. Yay. That's my truth.
Right. And I think that really speaks to a culture that places value on achievement over being, right? And see what really, in what we're focusing on is being over doing. And it so much of what we're doing goes against the grain. So just something to keep in mind that, just consider how valuable presence is in a meaningful human connection. No, it's not about anything that you do. It's just that simply being present, how much that matters.
What I loved too is how much how much self-confidence it gives to us, to me, when I am with you all. I usually finish this meeting with a high level of self-confidence and self-love too. This is recharging batteries.
Yeah, and this is something that I've definitely observed among people that come into this community. Some come, some stay, some go, is that their self-confidence definitely goes way up from the time when they come into the community. And this is very interesting, this connection between oxytocin and self-confidence. There's that direct connection between optimism, trust, trusting in yourself, self-mastery, self-esteem. That's very, very interesting.
I think the way we communicate in our Sangha is the non-judging, the openness, and the space we have for everyone. I think that makes a big difference in feeling accepted and loved by everyone. And that's not what we experience most of the times in real society or in our families, because I think in my family, and a lot of times I have to explain myself. And here it's not necessary to explain myself. I can just be or write how I feel, or without having to say, yeah, sorry, but I don't have time. Sorry, I did this or that. And this really open-heartedness, I think that's really powerful for me, for the community. And I think that it's a lot for everyone. That's what gives you confidence, because nobody is watching your every move. Yes, you can be with who you are. You can make mistakes. You can be away for weeks, but coming back, it's always a pleasure. And I think that's.
Well put.
And by the way, I'm not a very big community person in my other life outside this community. I'm always someone who is a bit at the sidelines of groups. That's such a big difference. I don't like to be in a group or be part of a group outside this community. So sometimes I struggle too, also here, but I think I learn a lot to play my part or to be the salt in the community, Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lucille in Toronto. I like coming here because I feel that there's such a goodness that is kind of harder to find elsewhere. That there's a gentleness, even though people have good courage and good strength. And when people have personal sadness, it's a place that you can come and still experience the goodness with whatever I'm going through. It's I just look forward to it every day, and I always put that in my gratitude journal. I'm really grateful for this yoga community.
Anybody else want to check in before we start meditation? Okay, so let's go ahead and lie down on our backs and to begin. Okay, so you're going to lie down on your backs with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. And adjust the position of your feet so that you are completely relaxed, so there's no strain in your low back. And you're going to place your palms, hands down on your belly. Let your elbows be heavy on the ground. And close your eyes so that you have that inward focus. Just take a couple of moments here to allow the earth to receive you. So here your connection is with the earth. And you allow whatever tension your body is carrying to be surrendered back into the earth. Feeling the support of the earth underneath you. So when we practice in isolation and by ourselves, we are creating the ground for connecting. By feeling the continual support of the earth underneath you, you begin to open up to the possibility of support from others. By opening into the experience of your own body, you start to be able to open to experience beyond you, to be able to experience the possibility that other people are feeling and sensing just like you. But right now, you just begin to open and release the tension that your body is carrying so that you can surrender it back into the earth. And the more you relax into the earth, the more open your body can be, the more open you can be to your own experience, the more open you can be to experiencing others. The more opening will happen, the more accepting you will be of your own experience, the more accepting you will be of the experiences around you, your interpersonal body, your connections with others. When you connect with the earth, you can let go of the control and the strength you use to hold yourself up. You can let go of this kind of fear and tension that happens. And you can open to something bigger than yourself. So feel your 2 feet, the 2 sides of your buttocks, your mid-back, your elbows, your shoulder blades, and your head on the ground. And just open to the solidity and the support that's always there for you, and let your body settle. Allow yourself to be relaxed and open and receptive. And then you're going to begin with your feet. And breathe into your big toes. Breathing into all the pores of your big toes on both feet. And notice what sensations are there. So we are so disconnected from our bodies in our constant and perpetual movement towards achieving and self-improvement. And so this opening to sensations that are present can take time. And you're just going to feel into the mass of your big toe. Notice what the bottom of your big toe feels like. Notice how that feels different from the sides of your big toe, the top of your big toe, the bone, the toenail. Notice what your big toe feels like where it connects to your foot. And then open to any tightness or tension, any discomfort. When you tune into your body in this way, you'll open to sensations that will shift and change. You might notice holding or gripping and tension. And you'll find that as you open to the tension, that it doesn't stay the same. That the tension, as you open to it, begins to unravel and drain downwards into the earth. And there's a kind of relaxation process that happens, that the gripping and the holding, the energy releases down into the earth. And as this tension unravels from your big toe, you may find that tension in your feet and even up into your legs and the rest of your body begins to release down into the earth. And you may find that your breathing is slowing down. And if this starts to happen, just follow what's happening in your body. Follow the innate wisdom of your body. And just notice that you're feeling your body. And this is what it means to have a somatic meditation, to feel your body from the inside. And then you're going to breathe into all the pores of your second toe. And just by putting your awareness into a part of your body heightens the sensation there. So you're beginning to uncover and tap into the tension in your second toe. And then noticing how that tension begins to unravel and relax and release down into the earth. And then breathing in through the pores of your middle toes. Connect with whatever sensations you're finding, feeling the skin and the bones, the tension, the gripping, the holding, and notice the way the tension releases and dissolves. And as the tension releases and relaxes, you might find that elsewhere in your body, tension begins to relax and let go. And this is because the meridians of your body run throughout your feet. So as we take this time in your feet, you're affecting your entire body. And then breathe in through all the pores of your fourth toe. Feeling into the sensations in your fourth toe, the gripping, the tensing, the muscles, the bones, the tendons. So you're taking the time to develop a fuller experience of sensation in each toe and following the process of release. And it's completely fine that connecting with your body in this way takes time, takes several repetitions. But each time you do it, you will have an increased ability to feel and release tension. And then breathing into the tension in your baby toe. Noticing the felt sense of the toenail, the way the baby toe is curled a little bit more. The skin wrapped around that bone. And just notice the way that tension releases. And then feeling into all 5 toes, noticing how they feel all a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more lengthened, elongated, a little bit more fully who they are, less tension, more free. And notice how tension continues to release and let go from all 5 toes. And then invite your awareness into the ball of your foot. Notice how different the sensations are in the ball of your foot from your toes. The density here in the ball of your foot. Feeling the squishiness at the sole of the foot, the skin, the thickness of the skin at the sole of the foot up into the bones, behind each toe, up into the roof of the foot, the skin spread over the roof of the foot. Feeling all the different kinds of sensation, from numbness to tingling to temperature to the feeling of the socks on your feet. And noticing how tension begins to unravel. And then opening your awareness into the arch of your foot. Feeling the tension in the arch of your foot. Noticing how different the sensation is at the front, the middle, the back, the inside, the outside, the tautness of the arch of your foot, all the way up to the roof of the foot and the front of your ankle. Feeling muscular tension, the difference between bone and skin. And feeling all those crossroads of tension release and let go down through the bottom of your foot. And then coming into your heel and your ankles, feeling the density of your heel bone, the thickness of the skin here as it wraps around your heel bone up into your ankles, your ankle bones, on the inside and the outside and the interior of your ankle. Opening to the experience of the interior of your ankle. Feeling the energy here. Maybe it's a little tingling or fuzziness or numbness or darkness. Staying with the experience, feeling the downward flow of energy and tension, holding and gripping. Each time you connect with your own experience, it's valuable, it's cumulative. So that the next time, what you've practiced this time will carry over to your next session. Then open to the experience of your shin bones, all the way from the front of your ankle to the top of your knee, and the skin over your shin bones, the muscles on the outside of your shin bones, the difference between the sensation on the outside of your shin bones and on the inside of your shin bones. Noticing how the sensation is different between your bones, the shin bone, and the skin and muscle around it. Feeling tingling, feeling pulsing, feeling temperature, and feeling tension sliding down the shin bone through the foot. And opening your awareness into the interior of your leg and the calf muscle behind your knee, to the density of that calf muscle from behind your knee all the way down to your ankle, your Achilles. Noticing that you can't feel something is as important as feeling something. So numbness is a sensation. The absence of feeling is a feeling itself. What does not feeling feel like? Scanning your lower legs and ankles, feeling tingling, feeling numbness, feeling sensation, feeling that downward flow of tension releasing into the earth. And then feel your buttocks on the earth. Notice any gripping and tension and holding, and allow your buttocks to soften so that your connection to the earth deepens. So you're already relaxing and releasing and letting go of tension so that that access point to the earth can become deeper. And then open your awareness into your pelvic floor, your perineum, around your anus and your genitals, and feel the gripping, the holding, the tension here, the tightness. See where you're holding on. See where there's tension. Sometimes the release will be very small and incremental. Opening your awareness to your whole pelvic cavity, your pelvic bones. Feeling the tension in your pelvic bones, your tailbone, your pubic bone, your iliac crest. And see where there's holding and gripping. And open to the possibility of releasing and letting go, of unraveling. Give yourself the luxury of going slowly and gently. And don't rush. Let yourself be present to sensation, to any pain, to any achiness, to tension, to feeling the sensations fully. Follow the wisdom of your body. So it's not you that's allowing the tension to release. You are simply opening to what's happening. You're opening to the tension that's in your body, and in its own time, the tension will unravel and let go. You're simply following the process. So this is that dichotomy between being and doing here. So we are simply being with your body here. You're opening to tension. You're being with the tension. And slowly and naturally over time, the tension may release, but it's nothing that you're doing to make that happen. You're following your body. And it may be that you're just noticing tension. And when one layer of tension naturally reveals itself, naturally unravels, inevitably another layer of tension will reveal itself. And then you follow that tension as it reveals itself. And if that tension chooses to unravel itself, you follow that release. So it's the same as when we're breathing into our lower belly. We are not breathing into our lower belly. We're observing our breath coming into our lower belly. So we are not releasing the tension. We're observing the tension as it releases. So just like in community, presence, it's about our presence. It's about giving the fullness of our attention to ourself here. And then open your awareness into your upper legs, from your knees to your hip bones. And notice what tension begins to reveal itself, maybe in your hip bones. Allowing that tension to come forward, becoming familiar with the tension. Letting the tension and the gripping, the holding reveal itself. The tightness, the density. Let it come to a point of discomfort. And then you'll notice that that discomfort at a certain point begins to tip over and release and unravel, melt and dissolve down through your hip bones, through your buttocks and into the earth. And as that layer of tension lets go, another layer of tension reveals itself, perhaps in the backs of your legs, the denseness of your hamstrings. And letting that tension melt and release, following the tension as it melts and releases. So just check in with your entire lower body. Notice how it feels in relation to the earth. And then come to your mid-back, below your solar plexus. Feel that energetic connection with the earth. Feel your connection between the bottom ribs and the earth. And open to the tension in your lower belly. Feel the tension in your lower belly. Feel the holding. And the gripping. The control. Notice how that softens and releases. And then feel your shoulder blades on the ground. And feel the connection between your shoulder blades and the earth and the tension in the shoulder blades themselves, the tension in the bones of the shoulder blades. You might feel tingling, little bits of pain, maybe twinges. Just notice what's present there for you. Behind the shoulder blades, through the upper layers of the rib cage, the upper lobes of the lungs. Feel the difference between the hardness of the bones, the softness of the lungs, the fluidness of the tissue, the collarbones, the movement of your breath. Allow this whole area to soften, release, relax, and dissolve. And then open your awareness to the experience of your head. Feel into your head, the tightness around your temples and your eyes, your eyebrows. Feel the tightness of your eyelids, the tension in your eyeballs. Feel the difference between the skin of your forehead and the bones of your forehead. And then sense the experience of the felt sensation of your brain, the tightness of it, the density of it, feeling the difference between the front of it, the middle, the back, the top, the bottom. Feeling the brainstem down to the back of your neck and the back of your throat. Feeling your whole skull. The hair follicles in your scalp. So letting all the tension in your head melt and dissolve. And then just coming back to your body as a whole. Breathing in through all the pores of your body and just feeling in for any remaining pockets of tension. Allowing those remaining pockets of tension to come forward, and on the exhale, letting them relax and release. And just do this for only a couple of breaths, maybe 2 or 3, 4 at the most. And then let your body come into stillness so that you let go of any techniques, any effort whatsoever, letting your body come into a stillness so that you're just being in your body, feeling your body as a whole, and allowing your body to just be, so that we're let going of any effort, any doing, and you're just being in your body. Lying there, feeling what you're feeling, being in your body. And then staying connected with your body, staying connected to feeling your body from the inside. Take your time and slowly come back to our circle, to our community. And I'll open up the lines in case anybody wants to speak about their experience or ask any questions about their meditation practice or yoga practice in generally speaking.
It suddenly got very dark through that, and when I came back into what sort of awake again, I wasn't quite sure what was happening or where I was. But it was I felt all soft, and it was lovely.
That experience of confusion is common with the emptying out. So I'll just share with you in closing then an experience with meditation and connection that I had last week that maybe demonstrates the effect of meditation and connection. So I had been in meditation with my teacher and had quite a profound experience, quite an opening, and was feeling actually really quite raw and vulnerable. So I was after later, actually a few hours later, Tim and Trini and I went to the grocery store. I wasn't feeling like I was looking my best, right? It had been a very kind of vulnerable opening experience. But I have to say at the grocery store, I was greeted by the least likely people to greet me. Out of the blue, several teenagers were saying, coming out of their own conversations and saying hello to me. So I thought this was like evidence of how these practices breed connection, because it was nothing I was doing. I mean, I was going about my actually preference to withdraw at that point, right? Because I was not feeling my best or looking my best. But there was something that was happening in me that was creating this desire for people who would normally rather not connect with a 40-year-old woman to connect. And it was actually quite humorous to me. So it's interesting. Observe what happens. Because
I recognize that.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
It's an openness. Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to, okay, so the lesson was to connect, so go out there and bulldoze your way into connection. It's not like that. Patabi Joy used to say, do your practice and all is coming. Do your practice and the connection happens, right? It's that. That's all there is to it, right? These practices we do for a reason. And you do these practices, the connections are inevitable. You can trust that. Okay? All right. Have a good week. I will see you next week and on the forum.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.